So I got to have a little bit of double feature action over the weekend. Actually, almost a triple. I got to watch three movies, two that are new, and one that came out a couple of months ago. I got to finally sit down with Thunderbolts. I got to watch Superman, and I got to watch the Fantastic Four. So now I'm going to be coming out with entries for all of those films, and for right now, we're going to talk about the Fantastic Four. Now, what I want to say right off the bat is just that I try to remain neutral with certain things. I try to be as unbiased as I possibly can, while also just trying to give my unfiltered opinion. And these entries are not scripted, so I try to be as natural as I can be. I know there's a lot of people out there that are talking negative about this film. I know there's a lot of people that are talking positive about this film. I feel like what's probably going to happen is most of the people that feel negative about this film are going to find this video, and that's okay. You're all right to disagree with me, but in all honesty, I can't deny that this film wound up being better than I expected. There are some issues, but it is still, at the end of the day, a solid start to what is supposed to be Marvel's Phase 6. And it's so crazy to me to think that we're in Phase 6, because Phase 4 and Phase 5 kind of feel like a nightmare. Like, they feel like everything was kind of jumbled up, and all because of the stuff that happened with Jonathan Majors and how they had to push out the Kang storyline. And I really don't give a shit about what Kevin Feige says. They were gonna do Kang. There was no, like, oh, we always wanted to do Doom, or whatever he said in that article that he was talking about. Kang, you built up between like 3 or 4 different stories, like 2 shows, 2 films, whatever it was. You built up the premise that Kang was gonna be the big bad of this phase. And then you had to pivot because shit happens. Because here's the thing, now you're jumping into Doom and you're doing the multiverse, and you're almost... Phase 6 looks like nothing. Like, there's nothing in Phase 6. Usually you're packed full of things. If not, you're at least packed full of films. Phase 6 feels so bare bones, and this film is meant to kick it off. And again, I'm going to say a lot of positive things about this. But there's one thing that this falls in line that is just really, really annoying, and we're gonna get into that a little bit later. But first off, let's just talk about the movie in of itself. One of the things I do love about the film is just that it can, in all honesty, be standalone. Because it takes place in a different universe where nobody else exists, it doesn't have this overarching sort of annoying feeling of like, why are they fighting alone? Well, they exist in a universe where they're alone, so nobody's coming to their rescue. They're the heroes. There's no other heroes in their universe. It's just them. So when you look at things like Eternals and you wonder where like anybody is during that whole battle, or where the Eternals have been for 90% of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, when you look at where Moon Knight is, where the hell is Shang-Chi? When you look at how they've connected so much, and you sit there and you go, well, where is everybody during all these what feels like world-ending events? Very few people come together. You can't really hold that up to the same scrutiny with this film. Because as much as you want to say that Galactus is a big bad and he is a tremendous threat to the world, and in the Fantastic Four like lore and the series, the comic book, the Fantastic Four comic books in total, he's definitely a danger. But yeah, they're fighting him by himself because they're by themselves. So you can't really say, why is nobody coming to help them? There's nobody else that exists in there. So when you think about this movie from that perspective, that this exists by itself, doesn't really connect to anything else so far, and it doesn't even connect to anything else to such an extent because it takes place in a whole nother universe, when you view it with that perspective, you realize that it has more to offer than you could give it credit for, because you can't try to establish its connection to a bigger universe. They don't touch base on it being part of anything else, or them even like thinking about going to another universe. And it's one of the things that really is annoying, because you would think at some point, like, he mentions for like 30 seconds something about being able to test the ability of going into alternate universes. They don't do that. They don't do it at all. So it's sort of this thing where it's like, where are they going to fit in the overall storyline? And that's annoying because you don't know where they fit. You don't know how they're going to connect to anything. All you know is that they exist in this universe and they beat basically what I thought was at the same level of a celestial being. Apparently, he's not. I did kind of feel a little naive about that. I really did view Galactus as sort of this Avengers level threat. I looked at him as like the next Thanos. I thought we would get a whole phase on just Galactus because I felt like he was worth it. But apparently, he's not that big of a deal. Apparently, he can be beaten, or he has been beaten by the Fantastic Four by himself on numerous occasions. So, he's not that crazy to defeat or that really serious to worry about, I guess. So that's why they just kind of, he stays in their lane, and how they sort of beat him can kind of be left alone for a little while. Maybe they'll bring him back later, but who knows? All I know is that at the end of the day, the way they built this story is really good. I do appreciate all of the character building. I do appreciate that we're jumping right into them already being established. I think it says that it's coming up to it's on their 4-year anniversary of being the Fantastic Four. And they play such a big role in the rest of the world. And it's presented in this way that's like a 60 minutes interview. You know what I'm saying? Like they're doing this Time magazine piece on them. So it's explaining their story through the eyes of reporters, and it being sort of this news special report. And here's the history of our brave superheroes, the Fantastic Four. And that's where you get backstory, because we don't need any more origin stories. We need something to be solid and by itself and already exist, because we already know a lot of origin stories and we've already seen them enough. So I liked that. I liked jumping right into it. And I also like how it presented the backstory in some way. Sure, there might be some throwaway lines that build up their history a little bit more that maybe some people might have been annoyed by. It doesn't bother me. I don't think it should be something that bothers you, because if they want to start talking about villains they beat, then it's villains they beat. Like, they're already beat. They don't necessarily matter. What matters is that the Fantastic Four is already established. They have this standpoint in the world, that they're involved in so much of the world because they're the only superheroes in existence, and everybody is on board with that, and they sort of unite the world, especially with the threat of Galactus. And Silver Surfer shows up, she heralds Galactus, says they're all going to die, and they band together even more. And now here they go out into space, and they go and they try to confront Galactus. They're like, oh yeah, we could beat him. And it turns out he's giant, and he's overpowering, and he's way stronger than they thought he would be. And of course, Sue's pregnant, and he wants the baby. And then there's the new threat of now, they don't have to save the world anymore because he doesn't want the world. He's not going to eat the world. He wants their child, because their child is born out of them being given superpowers sort of by the universe. And anybody who really knows the comics well, and I'm not going to lie, I'm kind of naive when it comes to that. I don't know a lot of the Fantastic Four storylines. I'm not that big of a fan of them, so I didn't go out of my way to read their comics or anything like that. I've kind of seen their movies and their cartoons and stuff like that. I did do a bunch of research for the video I just did for the Fantastic Four, which is why I felt this video was necessary, because if I watched it, I should talk about my feelings for it, but I'm digressing, and essentially what I'm trying to say is I don't know enough to really talk highly about some of the other stories that this is pulling from. I don't know the lore this is pulling from, or the source material that it gets its inspiration from. All I know is that I know that Franklin Reed is a big deal, and he really is this superpower in the Marvel Universe, so them introducing him is a big deal. Now, mind you, there are things that I do understand that people can be annoyed by, but I don't necessarily agree with a lot of it. Like, people were talking online a lot about the whole line that Sue says, like right after they meet Galactus and they're flying away, she gets birth induced. She's giving birth in space, essentially. The whole scene is crazy to me. And there was that big line where she's like, "She
still wants us. Trying to kill her." Really? Yes, want to take your nephew. Kill him! All right.
To me, I think that was really cool, because it really does establish that sort of bond between them. And you have to look at it for that. You can't just look at it like, oh, they're just going against their code. Like, no, it's not even just code anymore. Now we're talking about nature. Like, you're stepping out of the idea of making them superheroes. This kind of shows them being human as well. They're no longer superheroes when it comes to their family. And she's trying to, like, it's almost this natural instinct a mother has to protect their young, which gets even deeper into this because as the world learns, hey, Galactus won't eat us if he gets my son. And the world's like, well, give him your son. And she's like, absolutely not. And then the world turns on them. After they all were kind of working together, they're all like, how dare you, you'd save all of us. And I feel like it was missing this little bit, like just, it needed a little bit more of just her kind of pointing out the hypocrisy of it. If it had one or two lines where she just looked at somebody in the street and just go, would you give up your son? Would you give up your son? Would you give up your son? Would anybody do it? Everybody would say no. 99.9% of people would not give up their son for the life, not give up their children to save others. It's just in our nature to protect our children. Now, this might be my bias for that, but I am a father. So as a father, I am sort of connected with these lines to some extent. And I feel like a lot of parents would connect with the way they sort of act about their child and the way they interact with their child. And especially coming from a father, there's that scene that Reed has when he's holding him, and there's this nice exchange. It's this whole thing where he's telling him, like, you know, I hope you're not like me. I hope you don't have the thing that's wrong with me and stuff like that. And that really hits home for somebody who's like, I'm like a fresh father. Like, I have a 3-year-old and I have an 18-month-old. So everything is still kind of new and things are constantly changing. And all you want is just the best for your children. And that, I mean, I don't want to say it lends to my perspective on the film, but I feel like there's a lot more that I take away from films that involve children or parenting now, being that I am a brand new parent, or at least I'm kind of still growing into the infancy of my parenting, and I connect with those a little bit more. So on that sort of deeper level of understanding of it, or that deeper level of taking it in for myself, that's what I get from that. I just get this sort of natural instinct that you have to be a parent regardless of what your situation is. You know what I'm saying? Maybe you understand, maybe you get it, maybe I'm just rambling a bit, but that's where I'm coming from. That's probably the little bias I'm presenting when it comes to what I appreciate about the film. I do think that they did the characters very well. I know a lot of people are saying they didn't. A lot of things feel muddled. Things feel like they're not fleshed out. I think that they do good with the few things that are presented to establish their relationships. I was kind of hoping that there was going to be a little bit more about the Natasha Lyonne character, and she was apparently like nothing. It's almost like, why was that even there? And I think I've read something that somebody said that of why the connection is there for some reason, but I didn't get that, so I guess it's meant to do more for Ben Grimm, because everybody kind of has something. Like, Reed has Sue, and then Sue has Johnny, but Thing doesn't really have anything. And you could have taken that out, you know, like you already got rid of the Red Ghost. You already got rid of John Malkovich's character, which I did the reaction video when I saw the first trailer for this, and I was like, fucking John Malkovich. It goes back to this idea that I keep talking about. Who's left that's not in the MCU? I saw this article on Twitter the other day, maybe a couple of weeks ago, and it pops up every so often. Out of the top 10 highest grossing actors today, only one of them is not in a Marvel movie. And that's Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise is the only actor in the top 10 highest grossing actors and actresses of today that is not in the Marvel universe. Now, granted, I think like 5 or 6 of them are in Marvel, period. So Marvel kind of put them in that bracket. But then even when you break it out into like the top 20, there's only 3 other people besides Tom Cruise. Everybody else that's in that top 20 is in the Marvel universe. And most of it's probably because of the Marvel universe that they're even in there to begin with. So now, when you think about that, it's like you cut John Malkovich's character out completely because that story didn't make any sense, I guess. I remember reading something. And they only bring it up once, and they literally only bring it up to show him kicking the monkey into the ocean. Which, if you cut the character, you could have just cut that whole scene too. Like, you could have cut so many things to save time, to create more time, to do more development of their relationship. Because there's a lot of stuff that does kind of establish it, but it sort of feels jumbled. It feels maybe like it's a bit thrown in. It feels maybe like it comes off natural, but there's not enough of it consistently to show naturalism. Like, there's the whole scene of them floating in space and Reed trying to explain something, and the two of them just instinctively start, like, pretending to fall asleep because they're bored. Like, it's hysterical, and it kind of fits in with who they are and their personalities and their connection to Reed and everything. And you do little things like that throughout, but you break it up so much with exposition, and you break it up so much with all this other stuff that's going on, that you stop and you forget about it almost. So you feel like there is no character development. There is no development of their connection between each other. It just feels like four people who happen to live together that have superpowers. But if you're willing to just acknowledge those scenes and, I guess, let that be enough to kind of let there be a sort of, maybe like an innuendo, like there's like there's obviously the behind the scenes and the years of everything that we have to assume is there, so the relationship is already there, so maybe you don't have to see it. But then again, that also feels a little bit lazy. It feels like you're putting it on us to kind of use our imagination when you can just present it by cutting out a few more things, and we know that you're not shy of cutting things out. You cut out a whole character and probably one of the best actors on this roster in John Malkovich. So why are we questioning this? Why are we just not going to do anything about that? Now, I will say, if there's one thing that I am vastly annoyed by this, and it doesn't really have anything to do with the movie, it doesn't have anything to do with the characters, it doesn't have anything to do with the storyline, I still feel like start to finish, it was a good movie. I feel like it was a great way to start Phase 6. I think it's probably, if not competing for the best comic book movie of this year, and it's lived up to at least my expectations, and I do think that it's lived up to a lot of people's expectations, as it is receiving a lot more praise than it does receive negativity, but it does have its negativity out there. However, there is something that still bothers me, and it's that there's no connection yet. And I get that. I also talked about how we can look at this, or we have to look at this, or you should look at this as a standalone film. But at the end of the day, it's not. It's not a standalone film. It's meant to play a role in whatever the overarching storyline they're pushing for in Phase 6, in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Whatever they're doing, it's meant to play a role in there. And nothing's connecting. It's just getting really frustrating when nothing connects. And there's nothing in it that shows me that anything is going to connect. Like, I sat in the theater and I waited to the end of the credits, and you gave me some bullshit, like, cartoon for the Fantastic Four, and it's just, give me another post-credit scene. Give me something that connects to the Thunderbolts post-credit scene, because nothing in this film is connecting me to the post-credit scene you gave me in Thunderbolts with them showing up in their universe. What are we doing? Like, I need to know. Like, something needs to connect eventually, because we're just begging for something to make sense. We're begging for something to push forward. And as much as you want to say that Doom was the whole thing the whole time, no, because after everything happened with Jonathan Majors and you scrapped Kang, it felt like you rushed to make sense of things. And now nothing makes sense anymore. I can't connect anything, and maybe I need to watch somebody else's explanation video if somebody out there can explain it, but I can't connect a single thing to how the Fantastic Four is going to play a bigger role in the MCU. And that goes with just about everything that's been coming out, and it's really frustrating because I feel like there's a lot of us out there that haven't given up on the Marvel Universe, and because we haven't, we deserve something to finally be given to us. We deserve something to finally come to fruition, something to give us something to make sense of whatever it is we're doing or where we're going. By the time Phase 2 was over, everything was established. We knew everything, and we went into Phase 3 expecting the best arc of what you were building, period. And you haven't hit that level yet because nothing connects, nothing makes sense. You threw a lot of things at us, and every one of us that has been on board, putting in the hours to really give it the attention it deserves, to try to understand something, and there's just no payoff yet, and that's really frustrating. It's really frustrating to try to be a Marvel Cinematic Universe advocate these days, being somebody who tries to praise the MCU is very tough, and I'm probably going to get a lot of shit in the comments of this video, and I'm okay with that, because I'm hoping the payoff is worth it. Because if the payoff is not worth it, I'm going to eat my hat. Like, it's going to be this scenario where, what are we doing here, and why did I waste so much time? And you've lost me as a fan. You have not hit that level yet, because I still find some sort of enjoyment out of everything that you do. I'm not a person who sat there like all the memes you saw floating around of, oh, Marvel's dead, Marvel's back, Marvel's dead, Marvel's back. It has been a roller coaster, but I found appreciation in just about everything. And the only thing that probably I can't really defend is Ant-Man Quantumania. That was a shit show. That's probably the worst thing to come out since Endgame. There really there's not a lot of redeeming quality about that film, for me at least. I even think that it's worse than Black Widow, and a lot of people hate Black Widow. I actually didn't mind Black Widow. I'm probably going to get some hate for that too. I don't care really. But when it comes to the Fantastic Four, I do, again, see this is a great way to start Phase 6, and I hope it leads into something, and I hope it makes sense, and I just want people to give it a chance. The Fantastic Four deserve a chance, and a lot of people feel like this is not a good film, and I can't agree with that. I can't. I just can't, in my heart of hearts, say that there's so much bad about this film that it deserves to be shunned. No. That's not the case. It's not perfect. It has its flaws. It's not flawless. But it's still good. It's still better than the majority of what we've been getting. And it's probably, one of the best Fantastic Fours, at least that I've seen. The only one I haven't seen is the 1994 version, and I have a copy of it. I just haven't really sat with it yet. But I did hear a lot from people that were saying that the 1994 version is actually better than people give it credit for, and a lot of people don't even know about that version, which is why I made that other video. And I just wanted to really express that there's a worth to give the Fantastic Four a chance, and I do feel like this sort of redeems them a little bit, because it's at least better than what the 2015 one was. It's at least on a different level than what the 2005 and the 2007 versions were doing, and it's part of Marvel again, and we have to be happy that Marvel has it in their hands, and they did it justice. For me, they did it justice. I know there's a lot of people that it didn't do justice for. I don't know what to tell you. If you really did not like this film, I don't know what films you do like, because there's a lot of redeeming qualities about this movie that you really should, maybe watch it again and really consider what it is that you really didn't like about it. And I have no problem having a discussion about what people's pros and cons about the film is. For me, the pros outweigh the cons. And I really can't say things are that negative to the point where I would say this is a bad film. It's not. It deserves all the praise it's getting. It deserves all the ratings it's getting. It almost deserves to be a standalone film and not even connect with the Marvel Universe. If it never connected with the Marvel Universe, it would probably be so much better of a film, but it can't be, because it has to connect in some way. It has to be part of the storyline that I don't even know what we're doing with anymore. But at the end of the day, I thought it was fantastic.